Advertising is all about life. You take ideas from life. The ideas that you are forming needs to be relatable to someone who's living a life, and it needs to impact in their life.
You have been facing a lot of challenges individually. What are the major challenges while working all throughout these 8 years?
Times are changing. There has been a turmoil in the industry when digital came in. A lot of traditional copywriters who used to write for prints, who used to write for television commercial, found it very difficult to transition into digital forum.
One of your projects won a major award, Cannes Lion.
I consider this to be my best or my proudest work for a reason. Very rare you will get an opportunity to meet 98-year-old freedom fighters.
Can you recall any, crazy or funny feedback from a client?
Every feedback is something that you don't entertain. Maza nahi aaya is a very common term in advertising industry and people hate it. Just to share a funny anecdote, the feedback was, iske jagah par wo dal do. And he didn't mention iske jagah or wo. What is iske jagah and what is wo? We made it a joke. Dash ke jagah dash dal do. And we had a lot of fun and a lot of jokes in the agency for a couple of days.
Thank you, Sandipan, for coming again to A Dialogue with Sukrit.
Again, a pleasure.
Last time the conversation was very interesting. It was very informative. We dived a bit into, a lot of segments.
Yeah.
And this time we are trying to dive deeper and trying to understand how an ad agency works. So the first question would be, if you could break down the structure of an ad agency.
All right. So fundamentally, an ad agency has 3 departments mainly. Actually, there are more departments, but I'm going to talk about 3 major departments. One is the creative department, without which the ad agency can't function. Like, for example, imagine if you have a factory, creative department is the division which is producing the product, which is making the product. Because for an agency, for a creative agency, your ideas, your creative ideas or your creativity is your product. That's what you service the client with, right? Now, apart from the creative department, there is one department which is the business development department. Okay. Their job is to bring more clients, bring more projects to you, meet clients and develop new businesses with them, right? Their job is also to help a brand do their marketing activities pretty well. Helping brand realize what they need, what can be done better, right? And then there is an operational division, which is the account management division, right? Their job is to ensure, they're like the caretakers, they're like the manager on floor who ensures that the creative product and the brief that has come are meeting the requirements or not, right? They're the first line of defense, like I said. They are the quality checkers because they have taken the brief from the client, they have met the client, they have set the expectations with the client. They are like the quality checkers. They are like the person who are like the gatekeepers of the product that is going out from an agency. Now, these 3 departments make up a agency. Majorly, that's how an agency is constructed. There is a finance team also. There is an admin team also. You will find tech teams also. You will find media team also. But these are all what constitute, what makes an agency altogether. But having said that, majorly these are the 3 departments which are very important.
So say a brand walks into an ad agency and, wants to shoot an ad film. What determines the cost of that ad film?
When it comes to cost, actually it depends on a lot of things. First of all, what is the idea? An idea can be done on a very small budget also. An idea can also require an enormous amount of investment also, right? It always depends on the budget. The budget always depends on the nature of the idea. There is no set pattern made that, certain ideas will only need certain budgets. Just to give you more inputs on the question that you asked me. Say, like you mentioned, if a brand comes to an agency for a film brief, it can be a small 10-second film also, which is not having any celebrity, which is not having any extravagant setup. It's a very simple film done very decently, can be executed on a budget of say 10 to 15 lakhs also, versus a brand film which is very extravagant in its nature, might need a budget of crores and more also.
So, someone starting an ad agency, how does one actually get a clarity of what they should pitch the budget to the client?
See, for that, you need to also understand how an agency earns revenue, right? When a client is coming to you for a work, say for an example, say film, right? You have an idea. Now you have figured out while speaking, if you are self-producing in-house in your agency, then you already know the cost of producing that film. Say if you are not producing, but you are outsourcing the film production to another film company who's charging you X amount, right? You will put a 15%, usually it's a 15% markup on top of your entire budget. And that's what you're going to present to the client, because you are also doing a service to them, right? That's how it works out in agencies. That's how agency also make money. When they produce work, there is a cut that they charge, the commission fees, like how platform, like when we order food from Swiggy, Zomato, or any other food, we always pay a commission to the platform, like as a platform fee, right? That's what the platform is charging from us. Similarly, agencies also charge a commission for giving you service, the creative service.
So, are there competing advertising agencies competing with you when it comes to clients?
Absolutely, yeah. Whenever a business pitch happen, a lot of agencies are called. It's not just one agency. A lot of agencies are called. It's like a fight, if I can put in words. Everyone is competing. All the agencies are equally talented. All the agencies are equally creative. They're equally capable of producing good work, right? That's when the real fight happens. That's when the relationship takes place, right? Pricing takes place. Like someone might charge you 15% more. Someone might charge you 5% lesser. Obviously, quality would also vary. Work will also vary, right? And you being a client, you have to be very decisive. Who do you want to go with?
So mainly, if we see there are three major factors determining a client to choose a ad agency. One is the pricing, second is the creative output that one is producing, and the third is very important, that is also relationship that you have with the brand.
Yeah, I mean, all these three things, but not in the order. I mean, the first order would be work. You are coming to an agency for your work. So work should take precedence over anything else, right? If you are giving your trust, because the work that you are giving is for your own brand. So you need to trust the agency very well. You need to also, and how the trust is built. Basically, the trust is built on past work, right? You must have seen some good work from that agency. You must know that this particular agency is capable of doing good work, right? And I mean, that is what determines your first criteria, which is work, out and out. The second thing is relationship, because you will be like, agency is not a robot. Agency is made of human beings, right? If you vibe with the director, if you vibe with the creative director, if you vibe with the people who are running the show in the agency, if they understand your product very well, if they align themselves with your vision as a brand, there is an instant friendship that you develop with them, right? And everyone likes to work with friends.
True.
Right? That's what relationship is all about. We have seen, I mean, a lot of great work has been built upon relationship. For example, Ogilvy and Fevicol, right? They have been together for, I don't know, like maybe 4 decades now. That like it all started with one piece of work which was done so well that it helped both the parties, the agency as well as the brand. And the relationship continued even today, right? It's rare to see these things, like, these kind of relationships these days, but it's still there. So, and relationships are like built upon work, nothing else. So, like I said, work should take the first precedence, then your relationship. And then if there's another factor, which is price, because at the end of the day, it's a exchange of commodities, right? You are coming to an agency for work, and the agency is expecting money out of it. Agency is going to quote you certain amount based on the quality of work that they're going to give you, assure you at least. And if you feel that that is not up to the mark, or not beyond your expectation, or beyond the judgment, that you don't think that the quality of work that I'm assuring you is valued at that level, you would want to compensate for something which is less cheaper, right? That's majorly the main reason why a lot of good agencies end up losing the client, because they're not willing to negotiate, or they're not willing to compromise on quality, which is the right way of doing about it, like right way of going about it, to be honest. That's how it should be.
If I'm starting out, as I just mentioned, are retainership clients necessary for me to sustain as an ad agency?
See,
And if you could also elaborate on the term retainership.
of course. I mean, I'm not in a position today that I can comment largely on whether it's important to have a retainer, because I have not run a company of my own yet. I can speak from the experience that I've got so far while working for a network agency, which is like a big conglomerate, plus working for an independent agency, which is like a small agency. Retainer account, or retainer brands, or retainer projects, or retainer clients are basically clients who pay you every interval. It's like rent. It's like how, like, for example, if you are staying in a rented house, you are staying in a retainer cost. You are every month you are liable to pay a fee to your landlord, right, for the service that you are occupying. Same thing happens to agencies also. Agencies sign a contract for 6 months, for 3 months,
With different
sometimes
brands.
years. Yeah, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 5 years. And they decide on a scope of work. Like every month, you are liable to give me certain amount of work, certain amount of creative ideas, creative assets, service, whatever you call it. And there is a fee to that work, right? And it's going to be a monthly basis. That is your retainer, right? Apart from that, there are projects. Projects is like you do a one night stand kind of a thing, right? If I can put it in that way. I come to you for a film, or I come to you for an activation idea, or a print ad maybe. And that's a 1 gig or a 1 month program. We work together. I'm very satisfied. I pay you for that entire project. And maybe after a year or after 6 months, I come back to you again with another project. So there are two ways agencies work basically. Either they work on project basis, or they work on retainer basis. Retainer is mostly seen in the industry because it's very sustainable. It's stable. When you know that you have a client who's going to pay you every month, it gives you a lot of assurity. It helps you scale up. But at the same time, what has also been like what is the industry is also seeing as a pattern, just because you have some sense of stability and security that clients are going to pay you every month, your work start deteriorating.
True.
Because now you are taking the client for granted. कि ये तो है हर महीने pay करेगा ही. So agencies, like it shouldn't be the case anyway, but it's becoming one where agencies are focusing more on projects because they want to turn projects into retainer, and they are ignoring, or they're not, they're just ignoring, or they're just putting retainer clients on priority too. So that's the harsh reality right now. But both of both the ways of earning revenue is important.
So you being part of the ad fraternity for a very long time, like 8 years, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah.
you have been facing a lot of challenges individually, and also you've seen your colleagues going through different challenges. So if you could put down what are the major challenges that, while working all throughout these 8 years.
Oh, there are a lot of, it's like a Pandora box of challenges actually. To start with, I think there is significant amount of mental and physical challenge involved into the creative industry. Like I said, it's not a code that you can write. I mean, I'm not belittling any kind of job. Please don't get me wrong. But it's not something that you can do it in a timeline. Creative ideas, sometimes after working hours, you don't get a good idea, right? Sometimes an idea strikes you within a second, right? So there's hell lot of unpredictability involved. That's a challenge. It takes a toll on your health also because you are constantly working. Work time increases because there's pressure of deadline, there's pressure of quality, there's pressure of competition. You as a creative, you are not alone in the industry, you are not alone in the agency itself. While you are working as a copywriter, you are competing with 5 different copywriters. You have to be equally good. It's a corporate rat race, right? You need to be equally good. In fact, you need to be better in order to go up the ladder. So there is a constant pressure on you to perform and outperform sometimes. Apart from that, there is a pressure of quality also, right? Because there is no pattern to creativity. Like an idea might strike you middle of the night. So physical pressure is also there. There is mental pressure, how you deal with rejections. Like one of the reason why it's very difficult to become a copywriter, or in fact, it's very difficult to sustain as a copywriter, is the fact that you might end up coming with 100 ideas, but 99 of your ideas will get shot down. And it's a mental torture because all of your ideas are your babies. That's something that you fell in love in the first place when you conceived them, right? And for something or the other, 99 of them are just getting shot down, getting killed. Only one is making to the cut. That's an enormous amount of challenge on your mental health. I don't think any industry has seen so much of rejection than creative industry. So it's a very difficult industry to survive. Although it looks very glamorous that, hey, you are being paid to be imaginative, you are being paid to be creative, doing creative work that people aspire to do, right? But the other side of the story is that you may be producing 100 ideas and 99 of them are getting shot, and you are still surviving and you're still being happy mentally with that one idea, which is something that you are holding on to. So enough mental strength is required. Enough mental strength is required to face rejections. Enough mental strength is required to defend your idea. When you're presenting an idea, 10 different people from 10 different departments will try to find loopholes and mistakes in your idea. And they're all doing it from a good point, like from a good interest, because everyone wants to put out the best work out there, right? It's not that they want to stop you from being creative. No, nothing like that. But they want the quality work to come out. You need enough mental strength to defend your idea and prove it to a point that, yes, what I've thought is actually making sense, is actually solving a problem. So you need a lot of courage. You need a lot of willpower, belief, faith. That's a challenge. Rejection, I've already spoken about. Mental strength, I've already spoken about. The another thing that is very important for you to understand, which is pressure. You are always working against a timeline.
So the bomb is ticking always.
Absolutely. There's a time bomb ticking behind you for your idea. You can't have this liberty of, oh, I'm producing a film or I'm thinking of an idea, but if I don't crack an idea, I'll meet you next year. Doesn't happen that way. Presentations are set The date for presentation of an idea is set before you start thinking of an idea. That's the harsh reality. A deadline is set even before you start thinking on the idea. So you're always chasing an idea. There's always a time bomb ticking, like you said. There's always a time bomb ticking. It's a challenge. When a time bomb is ticking and you know there is very less time left for you to come up with an idea, it builds really, 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 nerve-wrenching pressure.
So basically, when you have to be creative, we are taught that you're free, you have the time, and you think. But then that doesn't work like that in ad agencies.
No, I mean not just an ad agency, but whenever you're working in a corporate structure, when you have a client to answer, you have a deadline to stick to. If you are painting a canvas out of a hobby, of course you don't have a deadline. You feel like painting it today, you do it. You feel like painting in the morning, you do it. You don't feel like painting in the evening, don't do it. But that's not the case with an agency or a production house or any creative field. When you have a client to answer, you have to deliver on time because commitments have been made, right? So these are the challenges. Like subjectivity is something that we have already spoken about in the previous episode, right? It's a challenge. How to deal with subjective feedback, how to deal with feedback in general, how to deal with rejections. Then apart from all these things, there are politics, which is there in every office, every company. Everyone wants to take the best part of the pie, right? That's a challenge. How do you, steer through these kind of things and still rise up? One very last thing, which is staying relevant. What happens is that you are creative now, but you also need to prove a point that you are going to be creative and relevant 10 years from now. Things are moving really fast.
Times are changing.
There has been a major turmoil in the industry when digital came in. A lot of traditional copywriters who used to write for prints, who used to write for television commercial, found it very difficult to transition into digital forum. And those who transitioned well, they're doing great. Those who didn't recognize digital or the prowess of digital, they're still struggling to understand what digital is capable of.
So with technology, you also have to improve your
Absolutely,
skills and you have to evolve.
Absolutely. You have to evolve with time. You have to evolve with audience. People have changed, right? There was a time when we were talking to an audience who was maybe more patriotic, maybe more emotional, maybe had better attention span. Now you are talking to an audience who's more rational, who will quickly move on to the next reel or a next post if they are not entertained well. So your writing, your thinking, your execution
second matters.
Everything will change, right? And you also need to adapt with time. So that's why it's very important to be relevant. I've seen a lot of aged copywriters or aged creative directors. They always come up with this excuse that, oh, I'm not young anymore. So these kind of briefs should go to the youngest copywriter because they'll be able to crack it. I think you can pass it on by saying this excuse, but actually it makes you even older when you realize this thought. I mean, if you see, there are stand-up comedians who are very old, but they're entertaining the younger crowd. If they can stay relevant, why can't you?
True. So I just want to take up this next question is, one of your projects won a major award. That's the Cannes Lion.
Yeah.
So if you could just take us through the journey, what was the project about? How did it, crack this major award? If you could just...
Sure, I'll be very happy to talk about it. Actually, 3 of my projects got Cannes, 3 Cannes. I'll briefly talk about each one of them. I think one project is something that I've already spoken in the previous episode, which was...
The Uri project.
Yeah, the campaign name was Codename Uri, where we created a fake film and uploaded on torrent to fool people into believing that it's a real film. It was all done to give people a taste of what surgical strike is. And when they downloaded the film, they realized it's a fake film and the actors were original, everything was original. and the actors encouraged people to not watch this film this way, but go to the theaters and watch it there.
And it worked wonders.
It worked really well for the client. That's how I would put it. Most importantly, it worked well for the country because that campaign also shook a lot of strings, pulled a lot of strings actually. And like I said, it got the attention of the Prime Minister. It got the attention of the Information Broadcasting Ministry. They created a law change. Very rarely you'll see a campaign which actually leads to a law change, right? And yeah, it went on to win a Cannes Lion, which is like considered as the Oscar of advertising, right? It's very prestigious. It's very well respected in the world. Only I think 3% of the total creative industry gets to win a Cannes. So I believe I'm very fortunate to got this opportunity and at least try my hands into bringing those ideas alive.
What were the other two projects?
Yeah, the other two, the second idea also happens to be a film marketing project. So there was because of the success of the Uri, the makers started giving us more projects for film marketing, and they realized that there is enough potential of doing film marketing this way than just making the celebrities appear in a mall or in a show like Kapil Sharma show or anything else. The film was Thappad. It was a film based on domestic violence. I think Tapsi Pannu was the lead. Yeah. Good film, done nicely. The major film, the plot line of the film was all about there was a healthy relationship between a couple, and in one of the heated argument, the male protagonist slaps the female protagonist, and entire dynamic of the relationship, entire thing changes. So it was all about domestic violence. So me and my team, when we got this brief, unlike the first brief, this is the time when I was actually involved into the project. So yeah, we got this brief and we understood what is the main plot or what is the main argument of the entire film, which is domestic violence. So we sat in a discussion. We started speaking a lot about domestic violence, what happens, why it happens, how do we stop and stuff like that. One insight that we cracked, which is domestic violence is encouraged by women. It might sound very radical right now, but actually it is encouraged by women by not reporting it. Right? You're getting my point?
True.
If you are getting violated, if you are getting hidden by your like male partner on a regular basis, and you hide it from the society and you hide it and you just hesitate to report it, you are encouraging it more and more. There has to be a full stop, right? That's something that we realize as an insight, and we realize that people don't report domestic violence so often because they are scared to break their marriage, break their home, which is made with a lot of efforts, a lot of love and care, right? So what happened in that project is that we started thinking of ideas, and that's when we realized that people don't report, like female don't report domestic violence. So how do we encourage women to report domestic violence? That's how the conversation started. Now, for a film, for any film, what are the major creative assets that you rely upon in terms of marketing? The trailer, right? Trailer is very important for your film. The posters are very important for your film, right? So we thought, what if we could do something with the trailer? And what if the trailer for this film, Thappad, can actually help women report abuse? It was a creative leap, a thought, but no execution. So we looked at where does this trailer go? This trailer is basically released on platforms like YouTube. Now, if you see YouTube as a platform, it has a feature where you can report the video if the video has some obscene scene or some sort of violence or some sort of negativity, right? We thought, how about we use it? So we came up with this idea, creative idea called the most reported trailer. We shot another trailer just like the original trailer because the film production house wasn't okay with playing with their original trailer. They were like, we don't want to somehow manipulate our original trailer. We want to keep it that way, but we love the idea. So why don't you have another trailer? So we started working on an unofficial trailer with the same star cast. But there was a twist. The moment that lady is slapped on the screen freezes, and we cut to a shot where Tapsi Pannu is directly speaking to the audience. And she urges that, this is the reason why domestic violence is encouraged in India, because even like you and me, we don't report. So why don't you hit this button and report this trailer? Because once you start doing that, it builds a sense of responsibility in you. It builds a habit in you that if I see this happening with myself, this is what I need to do. Today I'm doing it with this YouTube video. Tomorrow I'll do it with the police. So within 48 hours, we got around 4 to 5 lakhs of reports made on that video.
Whoa.
And as a policy by YouTube, if so many reports are made on a video, the video is taken down.
Right.
So in 48 hours, the video was taken up.
But the problem was solved.
The noise was made. The publicity was made. So we achieved our target. People were talking about this initiative. People were talking about, hey, did you see that video where you can actually go and report and they will take down the video if we report?
Brilliant.
That became a habit formation video. Like I said, like I was talking about experiential marketing in my previous episode, if you remember correctly. This is experiential marketing. It just gave you a taste of the film. It just gave you a taste of the product without giving you the product. Right? So that went on to win a silver Cannes Lion. And and my third project, which is something that I'm equally proud of, is a very tech-driven product. So we did a campaign called Everything Book. Okay, it's a product made for students living in the remotest areas of India where there's no network. Right? After pandemic, while the entire world shifted to online education, there were kids somewhere in remote areas like Manipur, or Leh, Ladakh, and other places also, where there's not even 3G yet. Forget 5G. And doing online classes is very difficult there. So back then in the agency, we were working for a client, Vedantu, who's into EdTech, right? They are into classes and courses, online, stuff like that. So the creative team came up with this idea where we developed a product. We made a product. Like I was referring to that creativity or creative idea is not just limited to films. Sometimes we become technologists and we create products. So we created a device which looks like a book. Okay. And it's basically, just to explain you in a layman's voice, it's like a hotspot, but into 10. So imagine if I have 3 different dongles of 2G, 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 this device multiplies all the network and makes it 3G or 4G. So that your connection is not best, but at least better than what you have. So we created that product. We distributed in remotest village where students can connect their phones and tablets to this router and stream videos without a lag. So that also became a massive success in region, and it actually helped kids, continue their curriculum. So these were the 3 ideas that really worked. Apart from that, there is one more idea that I have done last year, which is 2023, which is 1947 More, a campaign done for Britannia, where I consider this to be my best or my proudest work for a reason, because very rare you'll get an opportunity to meet 98-year-old freedom fighters who will treat you like their own son, grandson, who will feed you. So I went to Nagpur to interview 98-year-old lady who happens to be one of the few living freedom fighters in India. She met Gandhiji. She worked with Gandhiji also. She treated me like her own grandson. She made tea for me. and she started speaking to me about my projects and everything. The campaign was all about scanning Britannia products and knowing their stories that you never heard of. Because what happens is that whenever Independence Day is on, uh, usually what brands do, they give you discounts, 10% off, 5% off, 7% off, right? We said that this Independence Day will give you 1947% more, which is like the history, right? So any pack that you see, just scan through your phone. We developed a product like a AR activation sort of a thing, where you scan Britannia Good Day packet and you hear a living freedom fighter talking and telling you about the stories that you never heard of. The making of the idea was something that I really keep very close to my heart, because I don't know when I'm going to get an opportunity like this, where I'm going to be interviewing and working with freedom fighters who have given us freedom literally, right? And I'm working with them, right? Speaking to them, getting fed by them. Amazing feeling to have.
After hearing all these campaigns that you've worked on, films that you've worked on, it's really inspiring, and it would also be inspiring for a lot of filmmakers that you can actually inspire or touch so many lives through your creativity.
Absolutely.
It's not just about positioning a brand and just trying to sell that product. You can also change so many lives if you have that creative insight, and that's what led you to win such a prestigious award. So moving on, we would want to know, are there any myths that are associated with the advertising agency or ad films that you would want to clear off for the audiences?
I mean, yeah, there are so many myths. Advertising job is not easy. If you think it's easy, it's a myth. It's difficult, it's challenging, first of all. People don't make a lot of money in advertising in the beginning. They do when they reach a point. That's when they start making money. But it's not a money minting profession if you think it that way. It's a decent industry to get into and make money. I'm not going to be saying this that, oh no, if you come here, you will end up being a miser. No, not at all. You'll end decently well. Advertising industry doesn't mean that you'll be rubbing shoulders with celebrities all the time. You'll be on the sets, shooting films, television commercial all the time. No, that's not the case. Working in advertising doesn't mean that you will always be traveling the world. Your ideas might be traveling to the world, but you may not be. But chances are, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to be possible ever. You will be traveling after a point. You may, even in younger days also, you might end up traveling the world for a shoot, for a recce or something like that. But you shouldn't make it a norm. Another thing that people behave and pretend, and that's something like advertising industry is the one to be blamed. All ideas are not life-changing ideas. You are not changing the world with an idea. You are here to make a difference from a communication point of view. You are here for the brand. You are here for the service. You are here to communicate. So that's something, people should know about. Another myth that people associate with the advertising industry is that people don't sleep. It's a tireless, like 24 hours, people work 20 hours a day. Not true. I mean, yeah, we work sometimes overtime. Sometimes that overtime repeats a lot. But there are times when we have lesser work also. And there are agencies who are very strict about work timing. It all depends on work, because our work is such a thing that it can't be put under a timesheet, no matter however you try it. It's a creative process. It takes time. A film shoot takes time. Thinking of idea takes time. Writing or reaching to a point where you have written the best version takes time, takes effort. Yeah, these are the myths that I would want to clarify.
So do you think there's an ad that completely changed the industry, and how did it do it?
I mean, there are so many ads that I've seen growing up. I've Like they have actually created an impression about the world that I wanted to be in. Growing up, I think I've found some amazing ads of Febicol ads done by Piyush Pandey and Ogilvy and his team. The Zuzu ads, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, Vodafone.
Yeah, Vodafone ad. I loved Volvo ads internationally. Volvo, the car brand. I am a fan of Apple, how Apple, makes product demonstration. I think there isn't any better brand who does product demonstration so well. All of these, like Febicol ads that I was referring to, the first IPL ad, Manoranjan Ka Baap, if you remember, all these ads actually broke the world of creativity from a standpoint of advertising. They became better than the mediocre way of selling a product. They were selling stories. Product was just by the way. And it impacted the industry in general. Lot of, like, after I think the Febicol ads and I think the Zuzu ad, lot of other brands started referring to this ad as that we want to do something similar. That's a healthy way of going about it. I mean, obviously people consider it ki why should a brand create something which is similar to the other competitive brand? That's not the right way of doing work. I absolutely agree. But at the same time, it's also, you need to understand that people are willing to do good work, and there is not enough reference of good work. Hence, they're referring to that work because all they mean is that I want something good like this. But for the lack of word, they end up saying that I want something like this. So these are the campaigns that shaped Indian advertising. These are the campaigns that helped us realize the potential the creative industry holds. I mean, I've named some television commercial, but there are so many activations. There are so many social media ideas that blew my mind, that changed the industry, how social media is taken into consideration.
So can you recall any, crazy or funny feedback from a client?
Feedback from a client. I mean, see, if you are in the seat of copywriter, every feedback is something that you don't entertain. Like, you don't like getting feedback because for you, it's like you have already done your job the best way possible, right? Feedback coming means that there is somewhere, some loophole is still there that needs to be fixed. So no one likes getting feedback, but it's a part of the process to get better. Specifically talking about funny feedback, I mean, it's a like maza nahi aaya is a very common term in advertising industry, and people hate it when clients, for the lack of better word or for the lack of word, they end up giving you a feedback ki nahi isme maza nahi aaya, because it's such a vague term.
Very demoralizing as well.
I'm keeping the motivation aside. Even if you just need to understand, say, imagine you are yourself as a writer and I tell you maza nahi aaya. How do you go back with this feedback and realize ki man, what should I do next to give me maza, right? Just to share a funny anecdote, there was one time, I don't remember exactly who was the client, but it was a video call and the feedback was iske jagah par wo dal do. And he didn't mention iske jagah or wo. What is iske jagah and what is wo? We made it a joke. Dash ke jagah dash dal do. And we had a lot of fun and a lot of jokes in the industry, in the agency for a couple of days. Ki dash ke jagah dash dal do. But he just said ki iske jagah wo dal do. That is not a feedback. It's a command. So that's a very big problem in the industry that we work in. Most of the feedback isn't a feedback at all. It's a command.
So once a copywriter is growing, what are the different opportunities, they can cater to in further their career?
Opportunities in the industry or out of industry?
Opportunity in the industry once they are like experienced and they're moving ahead in their careers. What are the different things that they can cater to as a copywriter or a different writer?
Fair. I think the opportunity is endless. Okay. You start being a copywriter, then you become senior copywriter, then you become a supervisor, then you lead a group, then you become an associate creative director, then you become a creative director. After becoming a creative director, you become a regional creative head, then a national creative head, and then you become the chief creative officer. Then you can start your own agency, become a CEO. Uh, the growth is something that no one has demarcated yet. You can be anyone you want after that point. Uh, Apart from advertising, a creative copywriter, since in your creative copywriting journey, you are writing creative ideas, you are writing social media, you are writing scripts, you are writing interviews, podcast, God knows what. When you are doing so many tasks in your job, it also opens door for you for your next creative expression. Lot of people have turned full-time filmmakers after working in the industry. For example, Nitish Tiwari, the director of Dangal, the director of Chichora, he before directing Dangal, he was the executive creative director in an agency called McCann Erickson. Right? Lot of film directors, even today, who are doing exceptionally well. If you scroll back and check their past history, you will find them being a copywriter somewhere in the industry. Lot of screenwriters have been a copywriter in the past. Lot of people, filmmakers, like I've spoken about. Lot of entrepreneurs have been copywriter in the past, right? So yeah, it opens door for you in a very different way, because you end up working in so many creative formats that you can take one and master it very well. Like, I'm a big fan of Satyajit Ray, right? Satyajit Ray has spent 7 years in the creative industry, where he was an art director in an advertising agency, right? The agency, if I'm not wrong, was DJ Kmar, which later became Ogilvy Kolkata. And he served as an art director. First, he joined as an illustrator because he was an illustrator and he wanted to do something with art and sketching. Then he, worked in the agency for 7 years, for 13 years, if I'm not wrong. And one day he was like, this is it. This is where I want to be a filmmaker, because during that era, I think film and camera was something very new. So it was a very seamless transition for him from an art director to illustrator to an art director to a filmmaker. So that's how he became a filmmaker, and the rest is history.
Beautiful.
So if you see lot of creative people in the industry, in the country, if you scroll back their history, you'll find advertising somewhere there.
Is there any one word or one phrase that you would never want to use again while writing?
Buy me.
Buy me. Okay.
Buy me.
Okay,
or
okay.
Buy now. It's a CTA. We call it CTA, call to action, but I don't see it as a necessary thing. Like, don't order someone to buy rather than woo them to buy you. You know what I mean? So it's pointless to be preachy about selling your product or service to someone when there is so much of competition. Make sure that your product is seen nicely. Make sure that you are able to communicate the potential of your product or service in the most amazing way. If you do that job well, you don't need to force yourself selling, or you don't need to force yourself asking people to buy me.
Can you, give us a live example of, how you can turn a very boring product into a very interesting one in few words? Maybe this cup that you see.
It's a challenge. Okay. Like, if I take it like, it's a cup at the end of the day, it's a boring cup. Now it also, like, let's just exercise for a second, right? We spoke about insight. We spoke about, observation. Now, if you just look at the cup, if you just see it, there's one handle, right? Every cup has that handle.
Yeah,
right?
Most of the cups do.
Right. Okay. Now, if I tell you that this cup will never leave your hand, right? It will always hold on to you. Your partner may cheat on you, but this cup will never leave your hand. You may leave it, you may drop it, but it won't leave your hand.
Beautiful.
Now, this immediately creates an affection for the cup in your mind, right? That's advertising.
Brilliant.
That's just 1 minute of observation and then putting a story to it so that it appeals to you. That's advertising in a nutshell.
What's the most iconic tagline, according to you, that has been used in the advertising world?
Iconic from my point of view, I don't know whether the world treats it like an iconic or not. Maybe, yeah, well, the world also does. I think we spoke briefly about Just Do It. Somewhere, I think I've read a story about Just Do It. So the agency was Wyden Kennedy and they were working on a campaign for Nike. And they had many options. But the night before they would go to the presentation and present the ideas to the client, there was some crime reported in the newspaper. Some criminal was charged for death sentence. He was getting hanged, and he was getting dragged from the court to the jail. So journalists have gathered him, and they were asking, "How do you feel?" And that psychopath just smiled at the camera and said, "Don't ask me, just do it." Like he was just hang me. Don't ask me so many questions, just do it. The copywriter took that line from the news headline and gave it a positive twist to it. Like just do it was said as a negative thing. He just kill me, just do it. But he looked at it from a point of view that just do it is an attitude. It's not a line. It's an attitude. It's like the lift off that you say now when the rocket takes off. It's like a lift off for you. I think it's a simple line, but done so well. There was one tagline. There was one line, not a tagline. It was like a text on the video, which we call super, for an Under Armour video. Michael Phelps was the athlete, and the video says, "What you do in the dark puts you under the light." And if you just think about the line, no,
True.
it works negative also. What you do in the dark puts you under the light, and it also talks about the good way, like the practice that you do in the dark.
All the hard
practice,
work that you do behind the scenes.
amazing line. Now I'll bring you to India. I mean, there has been brilliant advertising that has happened in India. One line that is something that I'll always be a fan of. इसको लगा डाला तो लाइफ झिंगा लाला.
Right.
Then there was one line which was cracked by Piyush Pandey कि हीरे को क्या पता तुम्हारी उम्र क्या है. Right? I mean, amazing copywriting by these legends who have created this.
So I observed that, whenever there is any creative task that you need to complete, there's a very different way of looking at things. You don't look at things the way it is. And somewhere it's very creative. Like, what was the process like? Would you like to suggest few books, or would you like to suggest few process that, you can, just take this piece of paper and, just turn it into something creative? Like, I see that in you. Like, how does one develop this skill?
I think it comes with practice. No one is born out of the womb being a creative, being a writer, being a filmmaker. It's the creative discipline that makes them who they are, right? You need to be at it. You need to give your 100% to the craft. You need to give 100% to the job that you want to do.
Is there any specific process that you had followed that actually gave you this power?
Yeah. I'll briefly talk about it. I didn't follow any particular pattern. I was always fond of creative ideas from the very beginning when I was doing my schooling also. I knew back then that I want to do something in the creative industry. What I didn't know then. Later on in life, I figured out. One thing that I would recommend people is to have an open mind, to read a lot of books, read whatever is thrown at you. Don't be subjective to a particular set of books, read whatever is thrown at you, watch films, listen to music, watch sports, any sport, even if it's golf, right? Live life, I would say. It might sound a very philosophical guru talking, but actually it makes sense. I'll tell you why. Advertising is all about life. You take ideas from life. The ideas that you are forming needs to be relatable to someone who's living a life, and it needs to impact in their life. There's so much life in the sentence that I spoke about. Just imagine how much your living a life depends upon or determines, right? So I think live a very good life, very colorful life, where you have friends, where you have jokes in your life running on all the time, when you have experienced so much, you have traveled the world. All of these things will inspire you something or the other. Previously, people didn't have the liberty or didn't have the money or time to travel the world and get to know the culture. Now we have internet. We have so much already available to us. Maybe looking at a painting might spark a brilliant idea for a line, right? Maybe watching a film, a scene might spark a brilliant idea for an activation, for a product, right? So you never know what is going to spark an idea in you. But since you don't know what is going to do that, you always have to be absolutely open in the world, because ideas are always there in the universe. You just need to pick them, make them the way you want.
Thank you, Sandipan. It was a wonderful, wonderful episode. It was great to know so many insights from the advertising agency. And I hope, all the budding creative guys who would want to join the advertising agency would get a lot out of this episode. And thank you so much for coming.
I mean, the pleasure is always mine. And I look forward to come to you and have more episodes like this.
We would love to have you.
Yeah. And I just wanted to congratulate you on doing this, because I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of youngsters out there who want to do a lot of great things in the future. So
that's the vision for this podcast, and
Yeah.
I hope they get inspired.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.